The night they slammed the door in my face, they thought they were throwing out a loser. What they actually threw out was the person who quietly held the paperwork to their entire life. And the most ironic part? They did not lose me because I got fired. They lost me because they showed up afterward, smiling, thinking they could collect. My name is Taylor Evans, and exactly 42 minutes ago, my life fit neatly into a spreadsheet. I was a senior risk analyst at Stonebridge Risk Solutions. I had a 5-year plan, a 401k, and a reputation for being the person who caught the mistakes everyone else missed. Now, I am just a woman standing in an elevator with a cardboard box, staring at my reflection in the brushed steel doors. The woman staring back looks calm, too calm. She does not look like someone who was just escorted out of the building by a security guard named Dave, who I bought coffee for last Christmas. Dave would not even meet my eyes. He just pressed the button for the lobby and stared at his shoes. The box in my hands is light. It contains a stapler, a framed photo of a dog I do not own anymore, and a coffee mug that says, "World's Okayest Employee." It is a joke gift from a coworker. Marla Vance, the same Marla Vance who sat across from HR 20 minutes ago, nodding solemnly while they slid a piece of paper across the desk that said, "Compliance breach." I did not breach anything. I found the breach. I reported the breach. But apparently, in the corporate food chain, the person who finds the fire is the one who gets blamed for the arson. The elevator dings. The lobby is loud. People are rushing home, checking watches, thinking about dinner. I walk past them like a ghost. Outside, the sky has turned the color of a bruised plum. It is going to rain. Of course it is going to rain. That feels like a cliché from a bad movie. But the universe does not seem to care about creative writing standards today. I get into my sedan, a reliable silver thing I bought 3 years ago because it was practical. Everything I do is practical. Everything I do is calculated to avoid exactly this moment. I put the key in the ignition, but I do not turn it. My brain is buffering. One moment I was in a meeting about quarterly projections. The next, my email access was cut. My ID badge was confiscated, and my entire identity was erased. I am 32 years old, and without that job. I do not know who I am. I need to go somewhere, not my apartment. My apartment is quiet and empty, and if I go there, I will just stare at the wall until I panic. I need noise. I need people. I need safety. I put the car in drive and head toward the highway. I'm going to Charlotte. I'm going to my parents' house. The drive takes 45 minutes. The rain starts halfway there. Fat drops that smack against the windshield like gravel. I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. I am replaying the meeting in my head. The way the HR director, a woman named Linda who always complimented my shoes, looked at me like I was a virus. She used words like gross negligence and immediate termination. They did not even let me clear my browser history. Not that I have anything to hide, but it feels violating, like dying and leaving your diary open on the nightstand. I pull into the driveway of the house I grew up in. It is a nice house, beige siding, black shutters, a lawn that is manicured to within an inch of its life. My father, Frank Evans, takes pride in that lawn. He measures the grass height with a ruler. That is the kind of house this is. Everything looks perfect from the street. I turn off the engine. The rain is coming down harder now. I grab my box. I do not have an umbrella. By the time I get to the front porch, my blouse is sticking to my skin and my hair is plastered to my forehead. I fumble for my key, the spare one I keep on my ring for emergencies. This counts as an emergency. I unlock the door and step inside. The air conditioning hits me, cool and smelling of lemon polish. The television is on in the living room. Fox News. It is always Fox News. "Hello?" I call out. My voice sounds thin, shaky. My father is in his recliner. He looks up. He sees the box. He sees the wet clothes. He does not stand up. He does not ask if I am okay. He takes a sip of his iced tea and narrows his eyes. "What are you doing here in the middle of a Tuesday?" he asks. "I lost my job," I say. I do not have the energy to sugarcoat it. "They fired me." My mother, Donna, walks in from the kitchen. She is wiping her hands on a dish towel. She stops when she sees me. She looks at the water dripping onto her hardwood floor. "Frank, what did she say?" Donna asks. "She got fired," Frank says. He looks at me, and his expression is not sympathetic. It is annoyed. "What did you do, Taylor?" The question hits me in the chest. Not what happened. Not, "Are you all right?" But what did you do? Like guilt is my default setting. Like I am 12 years old again and broke a vase. "I didn't do anything," I say, my voice rising. "I was framed. Someone else messed up the compliance logs and blamed me." "Framed," Frank repeats. He scoffs. "People don't just get framed. Taylor, that is something that happens on television. In the real world, people get fired because they screw up." "I didn't screw up," I insist. I put the box down on the entry table. It leaves a wet ring. Donna stares at the ring. "Do you know how this makes us look?" Donna says. She sounds breathless, frantic. "I just told the Hendersons next door that you were up for a promotion. I told them you were running that department. Now what am I supposed to say? That my daughter was fired for incompetence?" "It wasn't incompetence," I yell. "Lower your voice," Frank snaps. "We have neighbors." My younger sister, Kelsey, comes down the stairs. She is wearing sweatpants and a hoodie I bought her for her birthday. She has her phone in her hand. She looks at the scene, me wet and shaking, Mom clutching a dish towel, Dad angry in his chair, and she rolls her eyes. "What is going on?" she asks. "I can hear you guys from my room." "Your sister got fired," Donna says, like she is announcing a death in the family. Kelsey looks at me. Her eyes widen, but not with concern. "Wait, you got fired? Like, today?" "Yes, Kelsey, today." "But what about my car insurance?" she asks immediately. "You said you would cover the premium this month. It is due on Friday. It is $240. I stare at her. I literally cannot speak. I just lost my career, my livelihood, my reputation, and my sister is worried about a bill she agreed to pay 6 months ago but somehow never has the money for. "I don't know. Kelsey," I say quietly. "I really don't know." "Well, you have savings, right?" Kelsey presses. "You can't just leave me hanging. I need my car to get to work." She works 12 hours a week at a boutique and spends the rest of the time making TikToks. "Enough," Frank says. He stands up. He's a big man, and he uses his size to intimidate. He walks over to me. "I knew this would happen eventually. You never had the killer instinct. You are too soft. You let people walk all over you, and then you come crying to us when it falls apart." "I am not crying," I say, though my eyes are burning. "I came here because I didn't know where else to go. I thought you were my parents." "We are your parents," Frank says. "Which is why we have to be honest with you. You are a failure. Taylor, you always have been. You think you are so smart with your fancy degree and your city job. But look at you, 32 years old, soaking wet, standing in your parents' hallway with a box of junk." The word hangs in the air. Failure. It is the word I have been running from my entire life. The word I worked 80-hour weeks to outrun. And here it is, delivered by my father with zero hesitation. Donna moves then. She walks to the entry table and picks up my box. "You can't stay here," she says. "What?" I look at her. "Mom, I just need a place to crash for a night or two, just until I figure out my next move." "No," Donna says firmly. "We are renovating the guest room, and Kelsey is using the den. We don't have the space. And frankly, Taylor, I don't want that negative energy in this house. We have worked too hard to have a peaceful retirement." She opens the front door. The rain is coming down in sheets now. It is loud, a white noise that drowns out the television. "Here," Donna says. She tosses the box onto the porch. The cardboard hits the wet concrete and slides. The mug inside clatters. "Go home. Taylor, figure it out yourself. That is what adults do." "Mom," I say. It comes out as a whisper. "Go," Frank says. He has sat back down. He is looking at the television again. And don't come back asking for money. We are done bailing you out. Bailing me out? I have never asked them for a dime. I paid for the new roof on this house 2 years ago. I paid off Frank's credit card debt when he forgot about the interest rates. I paid for Kelsey's tuition. But none of that matters now. Donna puts a hand on my back and pushes. It is not a violent shove, but it is firm. I stumble out onto the porch. The door slams shut behind me. I hear the deadbolt slide into place. The sound is final. It is the sound of a bridge burning. I stand there. The rain soaks through my blazer in seconds. The cold seeps into my bones. I look down at my box. The water is already turning the cardboard into mush. The bottom is sagging. I look at the closed door. Through the frosted glass, I can see the blurry shapes of my family. They are moving around. Kelsey is probably checking the fridge. Frank is changing the channel. They have already moved on. I am a glitch in their programming that has been deleted. I should be crying. I should be banging on the door, begging them to let me in, explaining about the roof and the credit cards and the tuition. I should be screaming that I'm not a failure. But I don't. Something inside me goes quiet. It is the silence of a vault door closing. I pick up the soggy box, careful not to let the bottom fall out. I walk back to my car. The rain feels different now. It does not feel like bad luck anymore. It feels like a baptism. I get into the driver's seat and toss the box onto the passenger side. I look at the house one last time. Okay, I say aloud to the empty car. Okay, they want a stranger? They just made one. I will never ask them for anything ever again. And when the wheel turns, and it always turns, I will remember this moment. I will remember the sound of that lock sliding shut. I put the car in reverse and back out of the driveway. I do not look back. The drive back to my apartment takes 20 minutes, and for the entire duration, I do not turn on the radio. I need the silence. I need to hear the sound of my own tires on the wet asphalt to remind myself that I'm still driving the car, that I am still in control of something. My apartment complex is called The Pines. It is a brick building from the late 80s, sturdy and unpretentious. Sitting on the edge of the city where the rents are reasonable and the neighbors keep to themselves, I park in my assigned spot, number 42, between a rusted pickup truck and a hatchback that has not moved since October. To anyone watching, this is where a mid-level office drone lives. This is where someone who lives paycheck to paycheck comes to sleep. That is exactly why I chose it. I walk up the 3 flights of stairs because the elevator is slow and smells like stale popcorn. Inside my unit, the air is still. It smells faintly of the vanilla candle I blew out this morning before I left for the job I no longer have. I lock the deadbolt behind me. Then I engage the chain. Finally, I let my shoulders drop. I strip off my wet blazer and hang it over the back of a dining chair. I do not turn on the main lights. The street lamps outside filter through the blinds, casting stripes of orange and black across the beige carpet. I sit down at my small kitchen table, the one I bought secondhand when I first moved in, and I place my phone in the center of the placemat. It is time to look at the damage. I open my email app. My work account is gone, obviously. Locked out, the second security tapped me on the shoulder, but I forwarded the termination notice to my personal account before they cut the connection. I tap the file. Notice of termination for cause. The words look sterile on the screen. I zoom in on the attachment, the so-called evidence of my compliance breach. It claims that on the 14th of January, at 3 p.m, I authorized a transfer of risk assessment data to an unsecured external server. I stare at the timestamp. The 14th of January, that was a Tuesday. I was in a strategy meeting with the VP of Operations from 2 until 4. I remember it vividly because Marla Vance spilled her latte on the conference table, and I spent 10 minutes helping her clean it up, so she would not look incompetent in front of leadership. I look at the digital footprint attached to the email. It is clean, organized. It has my login credentials, my IP address, and a perfectly sequential log of actions. It is almost beautiful in its precision, and that is the problem. Real mistakes are messy. Real compliance breaches usually involve a panicked attempt to undo the action. A frantic refreshing of pages, a chaotic trail of browser history. This was executed with the steady hand of a surgeon. This was not a slip-up. This was a script. I set the phone down and rubbed my temples. The betrayal at work is one thing. The corporate world is a shark tank. I know that. But the betrayal I just left at my parents' house? That is a different kind of poison. I close my eyes and I can see the layout of my childhood home. I can see Frank in his recliner, the king on his throne, dispensing judgment instead of affection. I can see Donna, fluttering around him, terrified of any crack in the facade, and Kelsey, the eternal child, waiting with her hand out. They have roles. Frank is authority, Donna is appearance, Kelsey is need, and me? I am the fixer. I have always been the fixer. It started when I was 16 and figured out how to negotiate a lower rate on our cable bill, because Frank was too proud to admit he could not afford the increase. It continued through college, when I managed Donna's accounting errors, so Frank would not find out she had overspent on Christmas gifts. I pick up my phone again and open my budgeting app. I have used this app for 7 years. It tracks every penny I earn and every penny I spend. I navigate to the search bar and type in "transfer my family." The list populates instantly, scrolling down the screen like a receipt that never ends. December 12th, $300 to Kelsey. Emergency vet bill. She does not have a pet anymore. November 4th, $550 to Frank. Property tax gap. October 2nd, $200 to Donna. Groceries. I scroll back further. September, August, July. There is a rhythm to it. Every 6 weeks, like clockwork, a crisis occurs, a tire blows out, a pipe bursts, a fee appears out of thin air, and every time, the amount is just low enough that I can cover it without ruining myself, but high enough to keep me tethered to them. It is not a series of unfortunate events. It is a subscription service. I am not a daughter to them. I am an insurance policy. I am the buffer between their lifestyle and their reality. And the moment the buffer failed, the moment I walked in that door wet and jobless, they discarded me. They did not see a person in pain. They saw a broken appliance. A notification buzzes in my hand. It is Instagram. I tap the icon. Against my better judgment, Kelsey's story is at the top of the feed. I click it. It is a black screen with white text, set to a sad, acoustic song. Really hurts when the people you look up to turn out to be the biggest disappointments. Family is supposed to have your back, not bring you down, just trying to stay positive. I let out a short, dry laugh. It echoes in the empty kitchen. She is controlling the narrative. Before I can even dry my hair, she is out there painting me as the villain, the failure, the burden. She leaves out the part where she asks the failure for $240 within 30 seconds of seeing me. My thumbs hover over the keyboard. I want to text my former boss, Steve. I want to ask him for the full server logs, the ones that show physical access to the terminal, not just digital. I want to tell him to check the security cameras outside the conference room on January 14th. I type, "Steve, we need to talk about the logs. I can prove I was in the conference room." I look at the words. They look desperate. They look like the pleading of a guilty person trying to bargain. Elliot Kane, my mentor, used to say, "Never fight loud, fight documented." Sending a text now is fighting loud. It is reactive. It gives them information about my state of mind. It tells them I am scrambling. I hold the backspace key until the message disappears. Not yet. I stand up and walk to the window. The rain has stopped, but the pavement is still slick, reflecting the neon sign of the convenience store across the street. My family thinks I am destitute. They saw the cardboard box, the cheap sedan, the lack of designer clothes, and they did the math based on their own superficial values. They assume that because I do not flash money, I do not have it. They assume that because I lived simply, I was living on the edge. They do not know about the meetings I take on my lunch breaks. They do not know about the LLCs registered to a P.O. box in Delaware. They do not know about Northwood Note Partners. I turn back to the room. It is modest. The furniture is functional. The television is 5 years old. There is no art on the walls. Just clean, white space. But in the corner, sitting on a nondescript shelf, is a small, fireproof safe. I walk over to it. I do not open it. I do not need to. I know exactly what is inside. I know the balances of the accounts that Frank and Donna do not know exist. I know the value of the distressed mortgage notes I have been quietly acquiring for the last 4 years. I am not the failure they think I am. I am the bank. They kicked me out because they thought I was a liability. They thought they were cutting off a dead limb. I look around my quiet, dim apartment, and for the first time since I left the office, the numbness in my chest begins to crack. But it is not sadness that comes through. It is clarity. They really think I have nothing, I say out loud. The sound of my voice is steady. The amusement in it is cold, sharp, and entirely real. They have no idea what they just started. They have no idea that by slamming the door, they did not lock me out. They locked themselves in with the debt they can no longer pay. I walk into the bedroom and finally turn on the light. It is time to get to work. I have a file to review, and tomorrow morning, I have an appointment to keep. The rain is over. The storm is just beginning. The morning after the storm. The sky is a hard, brilliant blue, the kind that hurts your eyes if you look at it too long. I am back in my car, but this time, I am not driving aimlessly, and I am certainly not driving to an unemployment office. I am driving toward the historic district on the west side of town, an area where the buildings are made of heavy stone and the trees have been growing since before the Civil War. I park on the street. My sedan looks invisible here. Just another nondescript vehicle among the black town cars and vintage convertibles. I walk up the steps of a brownstone that has no company logo, no neon sign, and no directory in the lobby. There is just a brass number, 402, polished until it acts like a mirror. I buzz the intercom. Yes, a voice answers instantly. It is Taylor, I say. The buzzer sounds a long, harsh note, and the heavy oak door clicks unlock. Inside, the office smells of old paper and expensive leather. It is quiet, not the oppressive silence of my parents' house, but the focused, heavy silence of a library or a bank vault. This is the office of Sylvia Romano, an attorney who charges $600 an hour and is worth every single penny. Sylvia is waiting for me in her conference room. She is a woman in her late 50s with silver hair cut in a sharp bob and glasses that hang on a chain around her neck. She does not stand up to hug me. She does not offer me a tissue. She nods at the chair opposite her, the leather creaking as she leans back. Coffee is on the sideboard, Sylvia says. Black, the way you drink it when you are thinking. I pour a cup and sit down. I do not feel like a fired employee here. I do not feel like a disappointed daughter. Here, I feel like what I actually am. I saw the termination notice you forwarded to the secure server, Sylvia says, her voice flat. It is sloppy work. Taylor, they rushed it. They framed me, I say, taking a sip. But we can deal with Stonebridge later, right now. I need to check the positions. Sylvia slides a tablet across the mahogany table. On the screen is a dashboard displaying the current assets of Northwood Note Partners. This is the secret I have kept for 5 years. To the world, to my coworkers, and especially to my family. I am Taylor Evans, the mid-level risk analyst who drives a used car and rents a cheap apartment. But on paper, the paper that actually matters, I am the managing partner of Northwood. We do not buy houses. We buy the paper behind the houses. We buy distressed mortgage notes, non-performing loans, and tax liens. We buy the debt that banks are too lazy to collect on, and we restructure it. I scroll through the numbers. The portfolio is up 12% this quarter. The total asset value is a number that would make my father choke on his iced tea. You are solvent, Sylvia says, watching me read. You could retire today, Taylor. You could buy a house in the south of France and never look at a spreadsheet again. I can't, I say. Not yet. Because of them, Sylvia states. It is not a question. I put the tablet down. If they knew about this, if Frank and Donna knew I had access to this kind of capital, they wouldn't just ask for a loan. They would sue me. They would guilt me. They would camp out on my doorstep until I wrote a check that cleared their entire life of bad decisions. Visibility attracts parasites. Sylvia, you know that. I do, Sylvia says. But invisibility has a cost, too. It makes you look weak. And yesterday, looking weak got you kicked out into the rain. I flinch. Sylvia has a way of cutting right to the bone. I made a decision, I say firmly. I chose to be underestimated. It is safer. Sylvia sighs. She reaches under the table and pulls out a physical folder. It is thick, sealed with red wax, and looks like something from another century, but I know exactly what it is. She places it in the center of the table. On the front, in handwriting that is spiky and aggressive, are the words, "If they ever try to come back and claim you." It is from Elliot Kane. Elliot was the man who taught me that money is not just currency. It is a language. He taught me how to read contracts like they were maps. He helped me set up Northwood 5 years ago, structuring it so my name appears on none of the public filings. He protected me, and before he passed away last year, he left me this. We have discussed this folder 4 times since Elliot died, Sylvia says softly. You have never let me break the seal. I didn't want to open it, I say. I stare at the red wax. Elliot was paranoid. He thought my family was dangerous. I just thought they were selfish. There is a difference. Is there? Sylvia challenges. Taylor, people like your parents do not operate on logic. They operate on need. And right now, the word on the street, and I have very good ears on the street, is that Frank Evans is not just cash poor. He is underwater. I look up at her. What do you mean? I mean that the reason they were so angry about you losing your job wasn't because they were disappointed in your career trajectory, Sylvia says. It was because they were banking on you being their retirement plan. They were waiting for you to get that promotion so they could present you with a bill. I feel a cold chill run down my arms. They kicked me out because I couldn't pay. Exactly, Sylvia says. And now that you are of no use to them, they discarded you. But here's the problem with people like that. When they get desperate enough, they come back, not out of love, out of hunger. They will come back to see if there is any meat left on the bone. She taps the folder with a manicured fingernail. Elliot knew that. He spent the last 2 years of his life compiling information on them. Not to hurt them, Taylor, to arm you. This isn't a weapon. It is a shield. I look at the folder. It sits there like a physical weight, pressing down on the table. If I open it, I am admitting that my family is not just a group of flawed people, but a threat. If I open it, I am acknowledging that the war has started. I wanted a clean life, I whisper. I just wanted to do my work, invest my money, and be left alone. You don't get a clean life when you are born into a mess, Sylvia says. You have to clean it up yourself. She slides a silver letter opener across the table. It spins and comes to a stop, pointing at my hand. Open it. Taylor, stop pretending you are the victim. Start acting like the managing partner. I reach out and touch the folder. The paper is cool and smooth. I can feel the bulk of the documents inside. Timelines, bank records, things Elliot found that I never wanted to see. I think about Frank's face when he called me a failure. I think about Donna tossing my box into the rain. I think about Kelsey's social media post. They threw me away because they thought I was empty. They have no idea I am holding the deed to the ground they are standing on. I pick up the folder. It feels heavy, heavier than it looks. It feels like holding a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. Not today, I say. I set it back down, but I do not push it away. I keep my hand on it. Sylvia raises an eyebrow. You are delaying the inevitable. No, I say, and my voice sounds stronger now. I am waiting for the right leverage point. I am not going to open this because I am angry. I am going to open it when I am ready to execute. Sylvia smiles, a small, terrifying shift of her lips. Elliot would have liked that answer. Keep it here, I tell her. Put it in the safe, but keep it at the front. I stand up. The meeting is over. I have confirmed my assets. I have confirmed my safety. Now I need to go back out into the world and play the part of the struggling daughter for just a little bit longer, because when the trap snaps shut, I want to make sure they are all the way inside. Taylor, Sylvia says as I turn to leave. Be careful. A drowning man will pull you down if you get too close. I know, I say, opening the heavy oak door. That is why I am not jumping in to save them. I'm just going to watch the water rise. I drive away from Sylvia's office with the image of that sealed red wax burned into my mind. It brings me back to a Tuesday night 7 years ago. Inside a drafty community college auditorium that smelled of floor wax and desperation. I was 25 years old then. I was working 2 jobs, sleeping 5 hours a night, and constantly fielding panic-stricken phone calls from my mother about unforeseen expenses. I did not go to that seminar to get rich. I went because the flyer said financial defense and asset protection, and I felt like I was under attack. The room was full of people looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. They wanted to know about flipping houses with no money down or trading crypto. The speaker was Elliot Kane. He was 70 years old, wearing a tweed jacket that looked older than me, and he spoke with a voice like gravel crunching under tires. He did not talk about Lamborghinis. He talked about leverage. When the Q&A session started, a guy in the front row asked how to make $1 million in 6 months. Elliot just laughed. Then I raised my hand. If I am verbally manipulated into covering a recurring debt for a family member, I asked, my voice shaking just a little. How do I legally restructure my own assets so they appear insolvent to the person asking, without actually ruining my credit? The room went dead silent. The guy in the front row looked at me like I was speaking Greek. Elliot Kane stopped laughing. He took off his glasses and looked right at me. That is the first intelligent question I have heard all night, he said. He found me in the parking lot afterward. He did not ask for my number or try to sell me a course. He handed me a business card and said, You are not looking for a yacht, kid. You are looking for an exit door. Come see me. That was the beginning, for the next 5 years. Elliot became the father Frank never knew how to be. He did not teach me how to catch a ball. He taught me how to catch a liar. I spent my weekends in his study, surrounded by stacks of redacted case files. He was a forensic accountant by trade, a man who had spent 40 years tracking money through the sewers of corporate fraud and divorce settlements. He taught me the world's ugliest truth. Most family crises are just bad behavior wearing a sad costume. Look at the dates, Taylor, he would say, pointing a gnarly finger at a bank statement. The emergency medical bill always happens 3 days after the casino withdrawal. The unexpected car repair always coincides with the date the rent is due because they spent the rent money on a new television. It is not bad luck. It is math. It was brutal to learn. It stripped away the illusion that my parents were just victims of circumstance. Elliot forced me to see that they were architects of their own chaos, and I was the contractor they hired to clean it up for free. But he did not just teach me to be cynical. He taught me to be constructive. That was how Northwood Note Partners was born. Elliot introduced me to the world of distressed mortgage notes. He explained that when a bank gives up on a borrower, they sell the paper, the actual mortgage contract, for pennies on the dollar. He taught me that you could buy that paper and become the bank. But instead of foreclosing, we could restructure the debt. We could lower the interest rate, forgive some of the principal, and help a family stay in their home while still making a 14% return on our investment. You can be profitable and ethical, Elliot told me, but you can never be profitable if you are emotional. He made me the managing partner because he was too old to run the day-to-day, and he trusted my brain. He trusted my obsession with details, but he always worried about my heart. He knew that when it came to Frank and Donna, I still had a blind spot. I still wanted them to love me more than I wanted them to pay me back. Never fight loud, he would drill into me. Fighting loud is for amateurs. It alerts the enemy. It wastes energy. You fight documented. You fight with paper. You fight with silence. I remember the last time I saw him. It was 6 months before he passed away. He was sitting in his sunroom, a blanket over his legs, looking smaller than the giant I remembered. He had just finished organizing his estate. "I made a file for you," he said, his voice raspy. "Sylvia has it." "A file for Northwood?" I asked. "No," he said. "A file for the Evans family." I tried to brush it off. "I don't need a file on them. Elliot, I just need to set boundaries." Elliot shook his head slowly. "Boundaries are imaginary lines. Taylor, people like Frank and Donna don't respect imaginary lines. They only respect walls. And sometimes, you have to build the wall out of their own mistakes." He told me he had used his resources to pull public records, trace old signatures, and look into the history of the house I grew up in. He told me he found things, patterns of borrowing, second liens, refinances that didn't make sense. "Why?" I asked him, feeling a wave of nausea. "Why would you dig into that?" "Because I am dying," he said bluntly. "And when I am gone, you will be alone. And when you are alone, they will smell blood. They will come for you, Taylor. Not because they are evil villains from a movie, but because they are drowning, and you are the only raft they see. They will try to climb on top of you to breathe, and they will not care if they push you under." I started to cry then. I grabbed his hand, his skin paper thin. "I can handle them," I insisted. Elliot squeezed my hand with surprising strength. "People who feel entitled to you will not stop when you say no. They stop when no becomes expensive." He made me promise not to open the folder until I absolutely had to. He called it a dead man switch, a nuclear option. He wanted me to try it my way first. He wanted me to try kindness, try logic, try boundaries. But he knew, with the certainty of a man who had analyzed human greed for half a century, that eventually I would need the nuclear option. "Promise me," he whispered, "you won't use it out of spite. You will use it to survive." "I promise," I said. Now, sitting in my car outside my apartment, the memory of his voice is so clear it drowns out the traffic. I finally understand. Elliot anticipated this exact moment. He knew the day would come when my utility as a fixer would run out, and they would turn on me. He knew they would call me a failure. He knew they would try to erase me. He did not leave me that folder to hurt them. He left it to remind me that I am not crazy. He left it to prove that the emergencies were never emergencies, and the love was never free. I rest my head against the steering wheel. I miss him so much it aches, a physical pain in my chest. But as I wipe a single tear from my cheek, I realize I am not actually alone. I have Sylvia, I have Northwood, and I have the folder. Elliot is gone, but he is still protecting me. He gave me the gun, loaded it, and put it in the safe. All I have to do is decide if I am ready to pull the trigger. And after yesterday, after the rain, the slammed door, and the look in my father's eyes, I think I am getting very close to ready. It is Saturday afternoon, 3 days after the rain stopped, and the silence in my apartment is thick enough to chew on. I am sitting on my couch with a cup of black coffee, watching a dust mote float in a shaft of sunlight. I am not crying. I am not panicking. I am simply existing in the space between the lightning and the thunder. Then, my phone buzzes on the coffee table. It is a notification from my doorbell camera. Motion detected at the front door. I pick up the phone and tap the screen. The video feed loads, grainy and distorted by the fisheye lens. There they are, Frank, Donna, and Kelsey. They are standing on my welcome mat, arranged in a triangle formation like they are posing for a holiday card nobody wants to receive. But they do not look like a family here for a reunion. They look like creditors. They look like the people who come to repossess your furniture when you miss 3 payments. Frank is wearing his serious business windbreaker, the navy blue one he wears when he goes to the bank to argue about overdraft fees. Donna has her purse clutched tight against her stomach, her lips pressed into a thin, coral-colored line. Kelsey is staring at her phone, looking bored, tapping her foot against the concrete. They are not ringing the bell yet. They are waiting, getting their story straight. I watch them for a full minute. I could pretend I'm not home. I could leave them standing there until they get tired and leave. But Elliot Kane taught me better. You do not hide from an audit. You attend it. And you bring your own calculator. I stand up, smooth out my oversized sweater, and walk to the door. I do not rush. I undo the chain lock with a deliberate rattle. I turn the deadbolt. I pull the door open. Frank does not say hello. He does not ask how I am. He does not apologize for calling me a failure or for his wife throwing my belongings into the mud 72 hours ago. We need to talk about responsibility, Frank says. He steps forward, expecting me to move aside. I do. I step back, not out of submission, but because I want them inside. I want them on my territory where I can study them. They file into my small living room. The air instantly feels crowded. Donna does not look at me. She looks at the apartment. Her eyes sweep over the beige carpet, the secondhand bookshelf, the lack of a flat-screen television on the wall. Her nose wrinkles slightly. It is a look of profound disappointment, but not the kind a mother feels for a struggling child. It is the disappointment of a prospector who just dug a hole and found dirt instead of gold. She acts as if wealth should be visible, as if my lack of luxury items is a personal insult to her genetic legacy. It is very compact in here, Donna says, running a finger along the back of my sofa. I thought you were a senior analyst. Taylor, this looks like a student dormitory. It is paid for, I say. My voice is even. Kelsey flops onto my armchair without asking. She pulls her legs up, shoes still on, and sighs. Can we just get to the point? She says. I have plans tonight. Frank stands in the center of the room, hands on his hips. He's trying to fill the space, trying to be the biggest thing in the room. Your sister is right, Frank says. We did not come here to critique your decor. We came here because we need to settle some accounts. You left the other day before we could finish our conversation. You kicked me out, I correct him. You threw my box in the puddle. Frank waves his hand dismissively, as if swatting away a fly. Emotions were high. It was a stressful day, but that does not change the facts. Taylor, we have bills coming due. Bills that rely on the contributions you promised. I lost my job, Dad. And whose fault is that? Frank shoots back. But that is irrelevant now. You have savings. You have severance. You have a responsibility to this family. We raised you. We put a roof over your head for 18 years. You do not just get to walk away because you had a bad week at the office. I look at him. I really look at him. For 30 years, I saw a strong man who was just a little rough around the edges. Now, through the lens Elliot gave me, I see a bully who is terrified of his own checkbook. What do you want? I ask. Kelsey sits up. She unlocks her phone and opens the Notes app. I can see a list. It is a long list. Okay, Kelsey says, scrolling. So, obviously the car insurance is the big one. That is $240. But then Mom said you usually cover the gap in the electric bill during the summer, and since it is almost May, we need to prepay that. That is another $300. And then there is the credit card payment for the tires we bought in February. You said you would handle the interest. I said I would help you look for a cheaper garage, I say softly. I never agreed to pay the interest. Well, you didn't say no, Kelsey says, not looking up. And silence is consent. Taylor, that is, like, basic law. I almost smile. Basic law. Is that it? I ask. There is the mortgage, Frank says. His voice drops an octave. He tries to sound authoritative, but I hear the tremor. We are a little behind. Just a month, maybe 2. We need $2,000 to bring it current. Just a loan, obviously. until my pension adjustment comes through. There is no pension adjustment. I reviewed his pension documents 4 years ago. It is a fixed benefit. It does not adjust. I stand there, leaning against my kitchen counter, and I let the silence stretch. I do not reach for my purse. I do not offer to write a check. I do not argue that I am unemployed. I just watch them. Elliot taught me that if you stay silent long enough, people will fill the void with their own truth. They cannot help it. They will talk to justify their greed. Frank shifts his weight. Donna stops touching my things and looks at me, her eyes narrowing. "Why are you staring at us like that?" Donna asks. "It is rude." "I am just listening," I say. "Well," Frank demands, "are you going to help us or not? Or are you going to be selfish, after everything we have done for you?" "You called me a failure," I say. 3 days ago, you said I always have been." Frank sighs, a long, exaggerated exhalation of a martyr. He steps closer to me, putting on a face that is supposed to look like paternal warmth. It looks like a mask that does not quite fit. "Taylor, honey," he says, lowering his voice, "we were hard on you because we believed in you. We hold you to a higher standard because we know what you are capable of. If we coddled you, you would never achieve anything. We were just motivating you. It is tough love." I feel a bubble of laughter rising in my throat. It is sharp and jagged. Tough love. Calling your daughter a failure and throwing her out in the rain is not tough love. It is disposal. And now that they realize the disposal unit still has cash in it, they are trying to fish me out. They are rewriting history in real time. It is fascinating. It is pathological. "So," I say, "you want $3,000, roughly," Frank says quickly. "Call it $3,500, just to be safe, for contingencies. And if I give you this," I ask, "then what?" "Then we are good," Kelsey says, finally looking up. "Then we are family again. Simple. Simple, transactional, conditional." I look at the three of them. I could write that check right now. I have $80,000 in my checking account alone. I could pay their mortgage for a year and not feel it. But Elliot's voice is in my ear. "People who feel entitled to you won't stop when you say no. They stop when no becomes expensive." I need to know how deep this goes. I need to know if this is a desperate grab or a permanent strategy. "I need time," I say. "Time?" Frank bristles. "The mortgage is due on Monday." "Then you should have come sooner," I say. "I need to check my accounts. I need to see what I can move around. I am unemployed, remember?" "How much time?" Donna asks sharply. 3 days, I say. "Come back on Tuesday. Same time. I will have an answer for you then." "Tuesday is too late for the late fee," Frank grumbles. "Then pay the late fee," I say. "Tuesday or nothing." It is the first time I have given them an ultimatum. Frank looks shocked. He opens his mouth to argue, but Donna puts a hand on his arm. She sees something in my face. Maybe she sees the wall Elliot told me to build. "Fine," Donna says. "Tuesday, but don't make us wait. Taylor. It is stressful enough without you playing games." "Tuesday," I repeat. They leave. They do not say goodbye. They do not say thank you. They shuffle out the door. Kelsey checking her phone. Frank muttering about interest rates. Donna casting one last judgmental look at my carpet. I close the door. I lock the deadbolt. I put the chain back on. I lean my forehead against the cool wood of the door and breathe. My heart is hammering against my ribs. Not from fear, but from adrenaline. I did it. I held the line, but I need to be sure. I pull my phone out of my pocket and open the app for the doorbell camera. The system records audio and video, even after the door is closed. For as long as motion is detected on the porch, I scroll back to the timestamp from 30 seconds ago. I see them walking away. I see Frank pausing on the top step while Donna digs for her car keys. I turn the volume up to the maximum. "She is going to pay." I hear Donna's voice, tinny but clear. "She always pays. She just wants to feel important first." "She better," Frank says. He leans in close to Donna, and his voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper, but the microphone picks it up perfectly. It cuts through the static like a knife. Once she helps once, we will make it permanent. We will get her to sign as a guarantor on the refinance. Then we don't have to ask anymore. I freeze. I replay the last 10 seconds. We will make it permanent. Guarantor on the refinance. They are not just looking for a bailout. They are looking for a host. They want to anchor me to their debt legally. They want to use my credit, my name, my financial identity to secure a loan they have no intention of paying, trapping me in their wreckage forever. I lower the phone. My hand is steady. I am not angry anymore. Anger is hot and messy. What I feel now is cold and crystalline. It is the feeling of a judge signing a warrant. Okay, I whisper to the empty room. You want permanent? I will give you permanent. I walk over to the safe in the corner. I punch in the code. 4028. The door swings open. I reach in and grab the folder with the red wax seal. I walk to the kitchen table. I sit down. I pick up a letter opener. I slide the metal blade under the wax. It cracks with a satisfying snap. I open the folder. Monday morning at Sylvia's office feels less like a legal consultation and more like an autopsy. The folder Elliot left me is spread open across the conference table, its contents dissected into 3 distinct piles: the past, the debt, and the trap. I am not crying. I am not shaking. I am doing exactly what Elliot trained me to do. I am following the paper trail. Sylvia sits across from me, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. She picks up a document from the first pile. The past. It is a photocopy of a loan application from 4 years ago. It is for a personal line of credit in the amount of $15,000. Look at the signature page, Sylvia says, her voice devoid of emotion. I look. There, at the bottom, is my name, Taylor Evans. The loops on the Y and the sharp cross on the T are unmistakable. It is my handwriting. I didn't sign this, I say. I have never taken out a personal line of credit. My credit report is locked. Look closer, Sylvia instructs. Look at the pixelation around the signature block. I lean in. The text of the document is crisp, sharp black ink, but the signature itself is slightly fuzzy. The edge is gray rather than black. It looks pasted. It is a lift, Sylvia says. They took a signature from another document, likely something legitimate you signed for them years ago. Maybe a college financial aid form or a car insurance policy, and they digitally grafted it onto this application. Then they faxed it to a second-tier lender who doesn't check wet ink originals. I feel a cold knot tighten in my stomach. That is fraud. That is a felony. It is survival, Sylvia corrects. To them, at least. Elliot flagged this 3 years ago. He paid the lender off quietly to keep your credit score from tanking, but he kept the proof. He wanted you to see that they do not just ask for money. Taylor, they take it. I stare at the document. This is what Frank meant when he whispered about making it permanent. They have done it before. They were just waiting for the chance to do it again, on a larger scale. We move to the second pile, the debt. I always assumed the house was nearly paid off, I say, tapping a property deed. They bought it 30 years ago. The market in that suburb has tripled. They refinanced, Sylvia says, 4 times. She lays out a timeline. It is a graph of financial destruction. Every time the house gained value, Frank and Donna pulled the equity out. They treated their home like a cash machine. A kitchen renovation that never happened. A business investment for Frank that disappeared into thin air. A new car for Kelsey. And then, Sylvia says, dropping a heavy document on top, there is this. It is a home equity line of credit, or HELOC. It is maxed out. They are underwater, I realize, the math clicking into place. If they sold the house today, they would still owe money. That is why they are terrified. That is why they need me to co-sign. They are not trying to pay bills, Sylvia. They are trying to stop a foreclosure. Correct, Sylvia says. But here's the twist. The bank that holds the second mortgage? They are bundling their distressed assets. They are looking to sell the note. I look at her. A thought begins to form in the back of my mind. A thought so audacious I almost push it away, but I let it sit there, germinating. Then we get to the third pile. The trap. This is the part I did not expect. Inside Elliot's folder was a subfile labeled Corporate Risk Factors. Elliot didn't just investigate my family, he investigated my environment. He knew that a person with a chaotic home life is often targeted in the workplace because they are perceived as distracted or desperate. Inside is a dossier on Stonebridge Risk Solutions, and clipped to the front is a profile on Marla Vance. How? I ask, picking up the profile. Marla was just a junior analyst when Elliot died. Elliot tracked patterns, Sylvia explains. He noticed that Marla had a history of surviving departmental purges where everyone around her got fired for compliance errors. He flagged her as a corporate climber who uses sabotage to clear the ladder. He wrote a note here. She points to a sticky note in Elliot's handwriting. Watch this one. She deletes logs. I feel the blood drain from my face. The compliance breach I was fired for. The evidence was too clean, too organized. It was Marla. Elliot saw it coming years ago. He saw the predator in her before I even saw a rival. It wasn't just bad luck, I whisper. It was a setup. My family weakened me, and Marla finished me off. So, Sylvia says, clasping her hands, you have the evidence, you have the motive, you have the means. What is the strategy? I stand up and walk to the window. I look out at the street, at the people walking by who have no idea that their entire lives are just paper trails waiting to be read. I have spent my whole life being the shield. I blocked the blows for my parents. I absorbed the stress for my department. I protected everyone but myself. I am done playing defense, I say. I turn back to Sylvia. We need a 3-part strategy. 1. Clear my name professionally. 2. Cut off their access financially and legally. 3. End the cycle permanently. Sylvia picks up her pen. Go on. First, the job, I say. I want to file a formal request for the incident file through you. I want to trigger the external audit clause in my employment contract. And I want to call the Stonebridge Ethics Hotline, not to complain, but to report a specific pattern of data manipulation by Marla Vance, citing the exact dates Elliot flagged in his file. Done, Sylvia says, writing quickly. And the family? We need a firewall, I say. I want to file a preemptive fraud alert on my credit. I want a cease and desist drafted for Frank and Donna regarding the use of my identity. And I want to prepare a defamation suit against Kelsey if she posts one more lie about me online. Standard protection, Sylvia nods. But that won't stop them. It will just make them angry. I know, I say. That is why we need step 3. I walk back to the table and place my hand on the HELOC document. The debt that is strangling my parents. The debt they are trying to shackle me to. You said the bank is selling this note, I say. They are, Sylvia confirms. It is part of a bulk sale of non-performing assets. They just want it off their books. Northwood Note Partners buys non-performing assets, I say. That is what we do. Sylvia stops writing. She looks up at me, and for the first time, her professional mask slips. She looks impressed. You want to buy your parents' mortgage, she says. Not me, I correct her. Northwood, I want to buy the note through the fund. I want to buy it at the distressed price. I want to become the legal holder of the debt on the house I grew up in. Taylor, Sylvia says slowly, if you do that, you aren't just their daughter anymore. You are their creditor. You will have the power to foreclose. You will have the power to evict. I know, I say. It is a nuclear move, she warns. No, I say. It is the only move. As long as that debt belongs to a faceless bank, they think they can talk their way out of it. They think they can borrow their way out of it. They think they can use me to pay for it. But if I own it? If I control the paper? I pause. I think about the rain. I think about the box falling apart in my hands. I think about Frank whispering once she helps once. We'll make it permanent. If I own the paper, I finish. I control the terms, and the terms are going to change. Sylvia closes the folder. The sound is sharp, like a gavel coming down. I will prepare the purchase agreement, she says. We can close by Friday. Do it, I say. Get the incident file from Stonebridge, lock down my credit, and buy the house. I pick up my purse. I feel lighter than I have in years. The fear is gone. The guilt is gone. All that is left is the work. Where are you going? Sylvia asks. I have a meeting on Tuesday, I say, a cold smile touching my lips. I need to get ready to tell them I found a solution. The transaction takes exactly 12 seconds to clear. I am sitting in a high-backed leather chair in Sylvia's conference room, watching a progress bar on a secure terminal. The air conditioning hums a low. Steady note, on the screen, a batch of distressed assets, referred to as Tranche 7 Bravo by the selling bank, is being transferred. Buried in that digital packet, listed simply as Asset Number 4920, is the mortgage note for a colonial house in the suburbs of Charlotte, the house where I learned to walk, the house where I learned to hide, the house where I was told I was a failure. Transaction complete, Sylvia says, looking at her own monitor. Northwood Note Partners is now the legal holder of the second lien. The assignment of mortgage has been recorded electronically with the county clerk. I lean back. I do not feel a rush of adrenaline. I feel the cold, heavy satisfaction of a lock clicking into place. It is done, I say. The servicer will send the welcome letter today, Sylvia adds, typing a note into the file. It is a standard notification required by federal law. It informs the borrower that their debt has been sold to a new entity and that all future payments and correspondence must be directed to the new management. They are going to panic, I say. They should, Sylvia replies. They are 3 months behind, and the previous bank was asleep at the wheel. Northwood is not asleep. We are awake, and we are auditing the file. I nod. We are not breaking any laws. We are following them to the letter. That is the beauty of it. Frank and Donna spent years operating in the gray areas of family obligation, where rules are fluid and guilt is the currency. Now, they have been moved onto a playing field where the lines are painted in white and the referees do not care about your feelings. Send the certified letter, I tell Sylvia, and make sure the no trespass notice is attached to the corporate filing. Already done, Sylvia says, since Northwood is a private equity firm with strict security protocols. Any unauthorized approach to its officers or its managed properties, which now includes your apartment, since we moved the lease into the LLC structure yesterday, constitutes a security risk. If they show up at your door, they are not visiting their daughter, they are harassing an officer of their creditor. It is a subtle distinction, but a legally enforceable one. I check my watch. It is 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The deadline I gave them. They are probably at home right now, scrambling to find the $3,500 they demanded from me. They are probably rehearsing the speech they will give when they come to collect. They have no idea that the collection is coming for them. 2 hours later, my phone vibrates on the table. It is Donna. I let it ring 3 times before I pick up. I do not say hello, I just listen. Taylor? Her voice is high, tight, vibrating with a frequency I recognize instantly. It is the sound of Donna Evans losing control of the narrative. Taylor, are you there? You have to come over. Something terrible has happened. I am busy, Mom, I say. My voice is calm. You don't understand, she cries. We just got a letter, a certified letter. The mailman made your father sign for it. It says our bank sold our loan. It says some company called Northwood owns it now, and they are demanding a full financial disclosure within 10 days. They are threatening acceleration. Taylor, do you know what that means? I work in finance. Mom, I know what acceleration means. It means the lender is calling the entire loan due immediately. because the borrower has defaulted on the terms. Well, you have to help us, Donna says. You know people. You can call them. Tell them it is a mistake. Tell them we are good people. We have lived here for 30 years. Suddenly she is sweet. Suddenly, I am not the disappointment. I am the expert. I am the lifeline. Her tone has shifted from the imperious dismissal of Saturday to a fragile, weeping victimhood. I can't call them, I say. If the debt was sold, it is a legal transfer. You have to deal with the new holder. But they are aggressive, Donna sobs. The letter, it is so cold. It says we can't call them. It says everything has to be in writing. Taylor, please, we were just stressed the other day. When we kicked you out, we didn't mean it. I have to go. Mom, I say. I have a meeting. Don't you hang up on me, she shrieks, the sweetness vanishing instantly. We are your parents. You owe us. I end the call. I stare at the phone. Power doesn't yell, Sylvia says from across the room. She hasn't looked up from her paperwork. Power files. I put the phone on silent. Now, I say, turning to the second matter at hand. Let us talk about Stonebridge. Sylvia slides a new file across the desk. This one is thick with correspondence from the General Counsel of Stonebridge Risk Solutions. We sent the preservation of evidence letter on Friday, Sylvia says. We cited the potential for wrongful termination litigation and demanded a hold on all server logs, badge access records, and internal communications regarding your department for the last 6 months. And they blinked, Sylvia says. My contact in their legal department tells me they started an internal audit immediately. They wanted to build a defense case against you. Instead, they found a hole. I open the file. On top is a technical report from an independent forensic IT firm, Stonebridge, hired to verify the breach they fired me for. Read paragraph 4, Sylvia instructs. I read it out loud. The command to transfer the sensitive data was executed using an admin level 4 credential. The employee, Taylor Evans, held a level 2 clearance. The system logs show that the level 4 credential was used to bypass the standard approval chain. I look up. I never had level 4 access. Only directors have that. Exactly, Sylvia says. You couldn't have committed the crime they fired you for. Physically, digitally, it is impossible. Someone used a master key to open the door, threw the files out, and then planted your badge at the scene. Who has level 4 access? I ask. Though I already suspect the answer. Sylvia flips the page. The director of operations, and anyone the director delegates to. We subpoenaed the delegation logs. There it is, a timestamp. January 14th, 8 in the morning. Credential delegated to M. Vance. Marla, I say. The name tastes like ash in my mouth. It gets worse, Sylvia says. Once we forced them to look, they couldn't stop looking. They found a pattern. Vendor accounts that were being paid for services that were never rendered. Consulting fees for companies that don't exist. It wasn't just a compliance breach. Taylor, it was embezzlement. Marla Vance has been moving money out of the department for 18 months. I stare at the numbers. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, siphoned off in small, boring increments that nobody noticed. Nobody noticed because I was the one who usually checked those logs. And I was the one she needed to get rid of before the end of quarter audit. She didn't frame me because she didn't like me, I say, feeling the cold logic of it wash over me. She framed me because I was the only one competent enough to catch her. She needed a fall guy, Sylvia agrees. She created a fake security event, pinned it on you, and got you fired so she could delete the evidence of the theft during the transition. It was a distinctive, albeit risky, strategy. I look at the timeline. The dates align perfectly. The days I was overwhelmed with family emergencies, the days I was distracted, tired, coming in late because Donna needed me to run an errand, were the days Marla made her biggest moves. My family weakened me. Marla hunted me. Stonebridge is preparing to offer you a settlement, Sylvia says. They want this to go away. They are terrified of the liability. They are offering full reinstatement, back pay, and a non-disclosure agreement. No, I say immediately. No? I don't want the job back, I say. I don't want to work for a company that didn't ask a single question before escorting me out of the building. And I certainly don't want an NDA. I close the file. I want a public correction, I say. I want a formal retraction of the termination for cause. I want my record scrubbed clean, and I want them to admit, on paper, that the breach was not caused by me. That is expensive for them, Sylvia notes. Reputation costs more than cash. They can afford it, I say. Marla Vance is the one who can't. I stand up. The sun is setting outside the window, casting long shadows across the office. I feel a strange sense of calm. For the first time in my life, the chaos isn't swirling around me. I am the eye of the storm. My parents are staring at a certified letter they do not understand. My former employer is staring at a lawsuit they cannot win, and I am just standing here, holding the receipts. So it really was a setup, I say quietly. It wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't that I was a failure. It was that I was surrounded by people who needed to break me to survive. What is the next move? Sylvia asks. I look at the calendar. Tuesday is almost over. Let them simmer, I say. Let Frank and Donna try to call the number on that letter. Let them realize that for the first time in their lives, crying doesn't work. Let Stonebridge sweat. We will wait. I pick up my purse. I am going to go home, I say. And I am going to sleep for 8 hours, because tomorrow, the real negotiation begins. Wednesday begins with a vibration on my nightstand. It is not an alarm. It is a notification from Instagram, sent to me by a friend I have not spoken to since college. The message is short. Hey, I just saw this. Is everything okay? I click the link. It opens Kelsey's story. She is filming herself in her bedroom. The lighting is dim, carefully arranged to look candid and raw. Her eyes are puffy, likely enhanced by a filter. But the tears look real enough. Tears of frustration usually do. I don't usually do this, Kelsey says to the camera, her voice cracking. But I am just so heartbroken. You think you know people. You think family is supposed to be there for you when the world falls apart. But then you find out that some people who have plenty, people who are sitting on piles of cash, would rather watch their own parents struggle than lift a finger. She wipes a tear. My sister, she has changed. Money changed her. She is so cold now. We are dealing with this huge crisis with the house, and she just walked away. She shut the door in our faces. I watch the view count tick up. 1,200 views, 1,500. She leaves out the part where they kicked me out into the rain. She leaves out the part where they demanded $3,500 for bills I do not owe. She leaves out the fact that the crisis is a result of 20 years of financial negligence. To the internet, I am just the rich, heartless villain in Kelsey's expertly curated tragedy. I do not comment. I do not report the post. I tap the 3 dots in the corner and select Save. Then I take a screenshot. Then I screen record the entire clip to capture the audio. Evidence item 4B, I say aloud. I upload it to a cloud folder shared with Sylvia. The attack is not just digital. By noon, the phone calls start. My former college roommate, Sarah, calls me. Then my Aunt Carol, whom I see maybe once a year at Christmas. They all start the conversation the same way. Hesitant, probing, filled with a sickening kind of pity. Your mom called me this morning, Aunt Carol says. She sounds worried sick. Taylor, she said you are not acting like yourself. She said you are having some kind of breakdown, that losing your job really unhinged you. I feel a flash of heat in my chest, but I force my breathing to remain steady. This is Donna's move. It is classic triangulation. If she cannot control me, she will control how others see me. She is planting the seed of instability. She wants to create a narrative where I am mentally incompetent, just in case she needs to challenge my decisions later. If poor Taylor is having a breakdown, then poor Taylor cannot be trusted with her own assets. I am fine, Aunt Carol, I say clearly. I am perfectly sane. I am just setting boundaries. And Mom does not like boundaries. Well, she said you were talking about conspiracies. Linda presses. Something about being framed at work? Taylor, honey, that sounds a little paranoid. Marla. Donna is using the job loss against me. She is taking the truth, that I was framed, and twisting it to make me look delusional. I appreciate the concern, I say, cutting her off. But I have to go. I am meeting with my lawyer. I hang up. I log the call. Time, 12:14 p.m. Caller, Linda Evans. Content. Donna spreading rumors of mental instability. I add it to the file. The truth is not emotional. The truth is archival. By Friday, the pressure has shifted from passive-aggressive to aggressive-aggressive. Frank realizes that the Northwood entity is not bluffing. The 10-day disclosure window is closing. He is scared. And when Frank is scared, he gets loud. He starts leaving voicemails. You think you are better than us? His voice booms through my speakerphone. I know you have money stashed away. Taylor, I know you are hiding it. If you don't call me back and fix this mortgage mess, I am going to expose you. I am going to tell everyone how you abandoned us. I am going to sue you for support. You think you can just ghost your own father? I save the voicemail. Threat of litigation. Attempted extortion. I do not reply. Silence is the only weapon that works against a narcissist because it gives them no fuel. But silence also makes them desperate. Saturday night, 11:30 at night. I am in my pajamas, reading a book on contract law. When the pounding starts, it is not a knock. It is a physical assault on my front door. The wood vibrates against the frame. Bam, bam, bam. Taylor, open this damn door. It is Frank, and he is not alone. I can hear Kelsey screaming something unintelligible in the background. I do not go to the door. I pick up my phone and open the camera app. The video feed is chaotic. Frank is red-faced, sweating, hammering on the wood with his fist. Kelsey is standing behind him, filming the door with her phone, narrating for her audience. She is in there, Kelsey yells at her screen. She is hiding. Our parents are about to lose their home, and she is just sitting in there watching Netflix. Frank kicks the door. The sound is like a gunshot in the quiet hallway. I know you are in there, Frank roars. You ungrateful little brat. You come out here and write that check. You owe us. My heart is racing, but my hands are steady. This is it. They have crossed the line from family dispute to criminal trespass. I dial 911. Emergency services, the dispatcher says. My name is Taylor Evans, I say, my voice low and clear. I am at the Pines Apartments, Unit 304. There are 2 individuals attempting to break down my door. They are violent and shouting threats. I am alone, and I'm afraid for my safety. Are they armed? I don't know, I say. But the male is kicking the door. Officers are on the way. I sit on the floor of my kitchen, away from the windows, and I watch the camera feed. Frank kicks the door one more time, then leans against it, panting. He looks old. He looks pathetic. He looks like a man who has run out of options. 4 minutes later, the blue lights flash through my blinds. I see 2 uniformed officers walk into the frame. Frank spins around, looking shocked. He puts his hands up, instantly trying to switch personas. Officers, Frank says, breathless. Thank God. We are just trying to check on my daughter. We are worried about her. She is not answering her phone. Step away from the door. Sir? The first officer says. His hand is resting near his belt. She is having a breakdown, Kelsey chimes in, lowering her phone but not stopping the recording. We think she might be hurting herself. I stand up. I walk to the door. I leave the chain on, but I open it 2 inches. Officer? I say through the crack. The police look at me. I am calm. I am dressed in clean pajamas. I am holding a book. I do not look like a woman in the midst of a breakdown. Ma'am, are you okay? The officer asks. I am fine, I say. I am not having a breakdown. I am being harassed. These people have been pounding on my door for 10 minutes demanding money. I have it all on video. Frank's face goes pale. Taylor, don't do this. I want them removed from the property, I say to the officer, and I want a report filed for trespassing. You can't trespass on family, Frank shouts, his control slipping. Actually, sir, you can, the officer says. He steps between Frank and my door. If the resident asks you to leave and you don't, that is trespassing, and kicking the door is destruction of property. We are leaving. Donna's voice comes from the stairs. She didn't come up to the door. She stayed back, protecting her image. Now she is retreating. We are going. Frank spits. He points a finger at me through the crack. You will regret this. That is a threat, I say to the officer. Please note that in the report, the officer escorts them down the stairs. Kelsey stops filming. The performance is over. I close the door. I lock it. I wait until the blue lights fade from the window. The next morning, Sylvia files for a protective order. We attach the police report, the video footage of Frank kicking the door, and the transcripts of the voicemails. It is a slam-dunk case. A judge grants a temporary restraining order within 4 hours. But the real tide turns on Monday, while Kelsey is trying to spin the police visit as a welfare check gone wrong to her followers. A headline breaks in the local business journal. Stonebridge Risk Solutions suspends senior director. Amidst embezzlement probe, the article does not mention me by name, but it mentions the department. It mentions irregularities in compliance reporting, and it mentions that Marla Vance has been placed on administrative leave. I share the article with Sylvia. People are reading this, Sylvia says. People in your network. People in your family's network. And they are. I watch the comments on Kelsey's latest video. The tone is shifting. User 459 writes, Wait, didn't you say your sister got fired for being incompetent? The news says her boss was stealing money. Maybe your sister was the good guy? User 88 writes, Why were you guys screaming at her door at midnight if you were worried? That video looked scary. Kelsey deletes the comments. Then she turns off commenting altogether. The narrative is cracking. They tried to paint me as the villain, but they forgot one thing. Villains are usually the ones screaming on the front porch while the hero calls the police. I look at the stack of evidence on my desk. The protective order, the police report, the certified letter from Northwood that Frank still hasn't answered. They wanted a reaction. They got a record. And now, with the law on my side and the truth starting to leak out, I am ready to deliver the final blow. They messed up the night they came to my door. They thought they were intimidating a daughter. They didn't realize they were handing ammunition to a prosecutor. The legal paperwork arrives on a Tuesday, delivered by a process server who looks like he would rather be anywhere else. It is a civil complaint filed by the law offices of Barry Miller, a firm located in a strip mall next to a discount mattress store. I sit in Sylvia's office and read it. Frank has sued me for intentional infliction of emotional distress and abandonment of familial duty, claiming that my refusal to provide financial support has caused him significant psychological harm. He is asking for $50,000 in damages. It is a nuisance suit, Sylvia says, tossing the document onto the desk like it is a dirty napkin. Barry Miller specializes in slip-and-fall cases and frightening insurance companies into small settlements. Frank thinks you will write a check for $10,000 just to make this go away. He thinks I am afraid of court, I say. He thinks you are the same daughter who used to apologize when he yelled at you, Sylvia corrects. He doesn't realize he just handed us the venue to destroy him. We do not settle, we counter. Sylvia drafts a response that is less of a legal pleading and more of a demolition. We attach the police report from the night Frank tried to kick down my door. We attach the transcript of the voicemail where he threatened to expose me. We attach the logs of the 112 phone calls Donna made to my friends and colleagues in a 48-hour period. This establishes a pattern. Sylvia dictates to her paralegal. This isn't a family dispute. It is a documented campaign of harassment and coercion, designed to extort money from an estranged relative, while Frank is waiting for my check. My other war comes to an end. I get a call from the general counsel at Stonebridge Risk Solutions. They want me to come in, not to HR, to the executive boardroom. I wear my best suit, a sharp, charcoal gray armor. When I walk in, the air in the room is stale with tension. Linda from HR is there, looking pale. The general counsel, a man named Mr. Sterling who never looked me in the eye when I worked there, stands up and offers his hand. I do not shake it. I just sit down. We have completed our internal investigation, Mr. Sterling says, clearing his throat. It appears there were significant irregularities in the evidence used to terminate your employment. You mean Marla Vance was stealing money and framed me to cover her tracks? I say. It is not a question. Sterling winces at the bluntness. Ms. Vance has been terminated and is currently facing criminal charges. We discovered she had been using administrative overrides to funnel payments to shell vendor accounts. The data transfer she pinned on you was actually a deletion script she ran to wipe her own history. I know, I say. My lawyer sent you the timestamp. We want to make this right, Linda says, pushing a folder across the table. We are prepared to offer you full reinstatement to your position with a 20% salary increase and a signing bonus of $15,000. We also want to cover your legal fees. I look at the offer letter. It is a lot of money. It is the validation I thought I wanted for years. But looking at it now, all I see is hush money. They want me back so I won't sue them. They want to buy my silence. I slide the folder back. I don't want the job, I say. Linda looks shocked. But it is a senior role. Taylor, I don't want to work for a company that assumes I'm a criminal because a thief told them so. I say, I want a settlement for wrongful termination. I want 6 months of severance, and I want a public correction. A public correction? Sterling asks. We don't usually. You issued a memo to the entire division stating I was fired for a compliance breach. I interrupt. I want a new memo. I want it sent to the same distribution list. I want it to state clearly that I was exonerated, that the breach was an act of fraud by another employee, and that I departed the company in good standing, and I want it posted on the company LinkedIn page for 30 days. That is highly irregular, Sterling says. So is framing your risk analyst for a felony, I counter. Do it, or my lawyer files the lawsuit tomorrow, and the press gets the full story about how Stonebridge's internal controls are so weak that a junior manager could embezzle for 2 years without anyone noticing. Sterling sighs. He knows he is beaten. Fine, we will draft the release. I walk out of that building for the last time with a settlement check for $45,000 and my reputation scrubbed clean. I feel lighter. The professional stain is gone. Now, it is time to deal with the personal one. The timeline for Frank's nuisance suit is moving forward, but he is distracted by a much bigger problem. Northwood Note Partners, the faceless corporation he thinks bought his mortgage, has stopped being polite. Because I control Northwood, I instructed the servicer to enforce every single clause in the mortgage contract. We sent an inspector to the property on Thursday. He reported that the roof is in disrepair and the insurance policy has lapsed. The new lender sent Frank a notice of default. We gave him 14 days to cure the insurance lapse and pay the 3 months of arrears, plus late fees and inspection costs. The total is just over $4,000. Frank thinks he can charm his way out of it. He calls the number on the letterhead. It goes to a voicemail service that simply says, "All inquiries must be submitted in writing." He can't yell at a P.O. box. He can't guilt-trip a contract, for the first time in his life. Frank is fighting an enemy he cannot manipulate. Donna cracks first. She tries to bypass the lawyers. She shows up at my gym on Saturday morning. I am on the treadmill when I see her in the mirror, standing near the juice bar, looking frantic. She sees me and rushes over, ignoring the staff member trying to stop her. "Taylor!" she hisses. "You have to stop this nonsense. Your father is having chest pains. The bank is threatening to take the house. We need that money now." I hit the emergency stop button. The belt slows to a halt. I step off and face her. I am not giving you money. Mom, I say. I offered to talk on Tuesday. You guys decided to kick down my door and sue me instead. We didn't sue you, she lies, her eyes darting around to see if anyone is watching. That is just your father trying to get your attention. He is hurt. Taylor, we are a family. You are destroying us over a few $1,000s. I am not destroying you, I say. I am letting you experience the consequences of your own actions. You kicked me out because you thought I was broken. Now that you know I am not, you want me back in the box. We never thought you were broken, she cries. We love you. I pull my phone out of my armband. I open a file. I have the doorbell audio. Mom, I say calmly. I heard what Frank whispered to you. Once she helps, we will make it permanent. I know about the plan to make me a guarantor. I know about the fake signature on the loan application from 4 years ago. Donna's face goes slack. The color drains out of her cheeks like someone pulled a plug. Do you know about that? She whispers. I know everything, I say. My lawyer has the documents. Every time you try to lie to me, I add another page to the file. Go home. Donna, tell Frank his nuisance suit is about to become a fraud investigation if he doesn't back off. She leaves without another word. She looks smaller than I've ever seen her, but the final nail in the coffin comes from Kelsey. Kelsey is young, and she is addicted to attention. And she is not smart enough to know when to stop talking. The pressure in the house must be unbearable. Frank is shouting about lawyers, Donna is crying about fraud, and Kelsey just wants her life to go back to normal. On Sunday night, she tries to call me. I have her blocked. So she leaves a voicemail on my old landline number, the one I kept for emergencies, the one connected to the answering machine I never check. But Sylvia checks it. We listen to it in her office on Monday morning. Taylor, pick up! Kelsey's voice is shrill, bordering on hysterical. This is insane. Dad is freaking out about the house. Just pay them, okay? You have the money. We know you got a settlement from your job. Stop being such a bitch. She pauses, catching her breath. And then she lowers her voice, her tone shifting from angry to whiny. Look, we didn't mean to actually kick you out forever, okay? We had to scare you. Dad said if we made you feel like you had nowhere else to go, you would finally stop being so stingy and cover the bills. It was just a strategy. Taylor, it was supposed to work. You were supposed to come back crying and fix it. So just come back and fix it. The recording ends. Silence fills the room. Sylvia looks at me. A slow, shark-like smile spreads across her face. There it is, Sylvia says softly. She just admitted to a conspiracy to commit extortion. It was just a strategy. We had to scare you. She just handed us the intent. I look at the speaker. I feel a strange mixture of relief and nausea. They didn't kick me out because they were disappointed. They didn't call me a failure because they believed it. It was all a performance. It was a calculated psychological strike designed to break my will so I would become their permanent ATM. They didn't hate me. They just wanted to own me. That changes everything, I say. The nuisance suit is dead. The family defense is dead. If we play this recording in court, a judge won't just dismiss Frank's case. He might grant me a permanent restraining order and sanction them for abuse of process. We have them, Sylvia says. Professional reputation restored, financial independence secured, and now, the smoking gun. Schedule the meeting, I say. Tell them we are ready to settle. Tell them everyone has to be there. Frank, Donna, Kelsey. And the condition? Sylvia asks. They sign everything I put in front of them, I say. Or I play this tape for the police, and then I let Northwood foreclose on the house. They won't know what hit them, Sylvia says. Good, I reply. I want them to come in thinking they won. I want them to think I am finally breaking, and then I want to watch their faces when they realize I am not the one who is trapped. I stand up and smooth my skirt. The game is over. Now, we just have to sign the scorecard. Friday morning arrives with the sterile precision of a hospital operating room. The location is Sylvia Romano's main conference room, a space defined by floor-to-ceiling glass walls and a view of the city skyline that makes everyone on the ground look like ants. I am sitting at the head of the long mahogany table. To my right sits Sylvia, tapping a pen against a stack of documents that are binder-clipped and color-coded. To my left, an empty chair. Across from us are 3 empty chairs. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to deliver a verdict. They are in the lobby. The receptionist buzzes in. "Send them back," Sylvia says. I fold my hands on the table. I do not feel my heart racing. I do not feel the urge to run. I feel a strange, heavy calm, like the air before a thunderstorm breaks. The door opens. Frank enters first. He is wearing a suit I have not seen him wear in a decade, likely dug out from the back of his closet for this occasion. It pulls tight across the shoulders, making him look uncomfortable and smaller than he actually is. He tries to stride in with authority, puffing out his chest, but his eyes dart around the room, taking in the expensive art, the view, the sheer weight of the wealth in this building. He smells of old cologne and nervous sweat. Donna follows him. She is not wearing her usual bright colors. She is in beige, clutching her purse with both hands like a shield. When she sees me, she offers a tentative, wobbly smile, the kind she used to give me when she wanted me to smooth over a fight between her and a neighbor. I do not return it. Kelsey brings up the rear. She is wearing sunglasses, even though we are indoors. She slumps into the chair furthest from me and refuses to make eye contact. She knows that I heard the voicemail. She knows that I know she is not a victim, but a co-conspirator. They sit, the silence stretches out, thick and uncomfortable. Frank clears his throat, preparing to launch into a speech. I can see the words forming on his lips, something about family, about forgiveness, about starting over. I speak before he can draw a breath. I am not here to argue, I say. My voice is not loud, but it cuts through the room instantly. I am here to end this. Frank freezes. He looks at Sylvia, then back at me. Taylor, honey, we just want to... Stop, I say. There is no we anymore. Frank, there is a plaintiff and a defendant. There is a creditor and a debtor. That is the relationship you chose when you kicked me out and tried to sue me. So that is how we are going to proceed. I signal to Sylvia. She slides 3 copies of a settlement agreement across the table. This is the deal, I say. It is a single offer. It is non-negotiable, and it expires when we leave this room. Frank picks up the document. His hands are shaking slightly. I will pay the arrears on the mortgage, I state clearly. I will pay the 3 months of back payments, the late fees, and the inspection costs. I will also pay the outstanding balance on the car insurance and the electric bill gap you mentioned. Donna lets out a breath, her shoulders sagging with relief. Oh, thank God. Taylor, I knew you would come through. I told your father. I am not finished, I interrupt. Donna snaps her mouth shut. I am not giving you a single dime, I continue. I am paying the creditors directly. No cash goes into your accounts, ever. But, Frank starts, in exchange for these payments, I say, ignoring him, you will sign this agreement. It stipulates 4 things. First, a permanent no-contact order. You will not call me, email me, visit my home, or approach me in public. Second, a full public retraction of all statements made on social media and to my personal network regarding my mental health and employment. Kelsey, you will post a video apologizing for spreading false information, and you will leave it up for 30 days. Kelsey scoffs, crossing her arms. I am not doing that. I have followers. Third, I say, looking at Frank, you will withdraw your nuisance lawsuit with prejudice, meaning you can never file it again. And fourth, you will sign a legal acknowledgement that I owe you nothing, no debts of gratitude, no familial obligations, no financial support. We are done. Frank slams the paper down. This is ridiculous. You can't ask us to never speak to you again. We are your parents. You forfeited that title when you threw my things in the mud, I say. This is cruel. Frank spits. You are being cruel. Taylor, you are punishing us because we made a mistake. It is not cruel, I correct him. It is clean. Cruel is lying to your daughter for 20 years about your finances. Cruel is calling her a failure while spending her money. Cruel is kicking her out to scare her into submission. This is just business. We won't sign it, Frank says, leaning back. He tries to summon the old bluster, the intimidation tactics that worked when I was 17. You think you can bully us? We will take our chances in court. A jury will see a rich, ungrateful daughter abandoning her elderly parents. Yeah, Kelsey adds. Good luck explaining to a judge why you won't help your own family. I look at them. They still don't get it. They still think this is a game of emotions. They think they have leverage because they think I am afraid of the house being foreclosed on. They think that deep down, I am still trying to save them. I look at Sylvia. She nods. There is one more thing you need to know before you threaten court, I say. I open the folder in front of me. I take out the assignment of mortgage. You received a certified letter last week stating that your second mortgage had been sold to a new lender, I say. Northwood Note Partners. So what? Frank says. Banks sell loans all the time. Northwood Note Partners is a private equity fund, I say. I pause, letting the room go dead silent. I am the managing partner of Northwood. The air leaves the room. Frank stares at me. His mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Donna grabs his arm, her fingernails digging into his jacket. Kelsey slowly takes off her sunglasses. You, Frank whispers. You own the mortgage? I own the debt, I say. I own the paper. I own the lien on the house, which means if we go to court, Frank, I won't be sitting at the defendant's table. I will be sitting at the plaintiff's table, and I will be filing for immediate foreclosure based on the fact that the property is underwater, uninsured, and in default. I lean forward. If you do not sign this agreement right now, I will instruct my team to execute the foreclosure. You will lose the house. You will lose your credit rating. You will lose everything. And I will do it all without raising my voice. Donna starts to cry. It is a quiet, terrified sound. She realizes the true regret now. Kicking me out didn't make me powerless. It severed the only emotional tether that was protecting them from the real world. It made me untouchable. Taylor, please, Donna whispers. It is our home. Then sign the paper, I say. Frank looks at the document. He looks at me. He searches my face for any sign of the daughter who used to beg for his approval. He finds only a stranger who knows his net worth down to the penny. He picks up the pen. His hand is heavy, defeated. He signs. He passes the paper to Donna. She signs, weeping softly. Then she passes it to Kelsey. I can't post an apology video, Kelsey whines, her voice trembling. It will ruin my brand. Your brand is built on lies. Kelsey, I say, sign it, or find a new place to live. Kelsey signs. Sylvia takes the documents. She checks every signature. She stamps them. She scans them. It is official. The payments will be made to your creditors by 5 this afternoon, Sylvia says. Please leave the building immediately. They stand up. They look like ghosts. They walk to the door, and for a second, Frank stops. He looks back at me. We just wanted you to be successful, he says. It is a weak, pathetic attempt to rewrite history one last time. I am successful, I say. I just decided to stop paying for your definition of it. He walks out. The door closes with a soft click. I sit there for a long time. I listen to the hum of the air conditioning. I look at the empty chairs. I wait for the sadness to hit me. I wait for the guilt, but it never comes. Instead, I feel a sense of lightness, as if I have been carrying a backpack full of stones for 30 years and someone just cut the straps. Are you okay? Sylvia asks gently. Yes, I say. I think I finally am. I stand up and walk out of the office. I take the elevator down to the lobby and push through the revolving doors. The sunlight hits me instantly. It is warm and bright. The city is moving around me. cars honking, people rushing to lunch, life continuing in its beautiful, chaotic rhythm. I walk down the street, my heels clicking on the pavement. I am not going back to my apartment to hide. I am going to the bank. I have a new account to open. I am establishing the Elliott Kane Memorial Scholarship. It will be a fund for adults who need to learn financial literacy, for people who need to understand contracts and leverage so they can protect themselves from the people who claim to love them. I will use the money I saved from not supporting my family. I will use the energy I used to spend surviving them to build something that actually lasts. I stop at the corner and look up at the sky. My parents are still in that house, but they are living in a museum of their own mistakes. They are safe, for now, but they are irrelevant. I have built a life they cannot reach, a life they cannot claim, a life that is entirely, wonderfully mine, and that, I realize as I step into the crowd, is the only revenge that matters. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Please let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel Lily Revenge Stories, like the video, and hit the notification bell to help this story reach more people.